Cecilia, welcome to moneyHOP Q&A session. Great to have you over here. So today we are discussing about international career. So one of the main thing, like when we talk about job, the first thing that comes to our mind is resume, because that is kind of like the first impression for the employer, right? So what are the common mistakes students or professionals make in their resume that makes them less attractive for the employers?
Well, thank you so much, Vishnu, for having me here and, for having me, help the study abroad aspirants. I'm very excited and I'm sure that, there will be a lot of insights that people watching will be able to take away. I think, as you rightly said, resumes are very, very important. And a lot of times what happens is we see that resumes are not created or customized to the country that the applicants are applying for, right? So most of the times I see that people have a very standard format or, there's too much of heaviness in their resume, like there's too much of information that is put in over there, which might not be really relevant. Okay. So I think the first step would be to try and do a little bit of research to understand, what is the format of the resume for that particular country that they're applying for, right? For example, if you look at Germany right now, we generally tell our learners have a, two-pager CV. If you do not have a lot of experience, it can be also one-pager, but you do have to have a professional, photo of yourself in the CV. Likewise, when you look at US, maybe it's a one-pager. They're not really, keen on looking at a picture of you, so that's not really required. And then UK somewhere in between that. So I think one is understanding the format. That is very, very important. I think the second important thing coming to, today's era and how people apply for jobs, the volumes are really high, right? So when you look at high volumes, I think one of the most important things is to understand that nowadays everything is AI and everything is going through a system, right? So it's very important to also understand when you're applying for a specific job, it has to be an ATS friendly, CV. Now, every company I know who's big has invested in an ATS system, right? So you need to understand that among the thousands of applicants, if you want your CV to get shortlisted, it needs to be customized. Now, how do you customize it? I would say go through the job description, identify what are the keywords, and then put those into your resume, because that is what will ensure that the system, shortlists you. Second important thing, I think over there to add on in the ATS resume is also keep it very, oriented to the role that you're applying for. Rather than putting in maybe, you have years of experience. Is it really relevant to the role that you're applying for, right? So maybe things that are not highly relevant, you can, complete that in a sentence or so. And what is really relevant, you can call it out in a good structure, right? Third important thing is I think it's very important to show the impact of what you've been doing. So a lot of people, when they put in, they say that, I've managed a team, right? So rather than that, say I've led a team and then talk about the impact that has been created from that, So I led a team of how many people? 15 people, right? And what was the project that you were working on? And what was the outcome of the project? Like what was the percentage of, outcome that came out of the project? I think these are key aspects. If you can put into your resume, it will make it really stand out. And, I would say think of your resume as, something that is going to knock onto a new opportunity. And if you have things structured in the right way, it can open real good doors for you.
Okay, that's some great insight. Now, what about experience? So there is a saying that like jobs require people with experience, but we get experience only when we get into jobs. So it's highly paradoxical situation, right? So how can international students secure jobs with zero experience when they are abroad?
I think the mindset shift is very important over here, right? While a lot of people say that I don't have experience, especially because I work with a lot of freshers, right? They do tell me, one of the things that I'm really worried about is how do I fill in my CV with information because I don't really have experience. I think recruiters are not really looking at how many years of experience you have, right? So maybe like people think that if I have 5 years of experience, I have a very strong CV. I think if you're able to show 5 years of impact in your CV, right, the amount of impact that you can bring in, I think that's what stands out. So I would say, start working on projects that you can showcase in your CV, like take on anything small. So for example, you are learning something new, right? What can you deliver out of that new thing that you're learning? So start working on small projects as you're in your learn journey. And I think there is also a lot that we do in terms of, when we are in our colleges, right? We do certain projects, we do certain certifications, add all of that. Volunteer work also works beautifully if you're able to align it to the role that you're applying for. So I think these things can also come in and, can cover up the space rather than talking about experience, talk about the impact that your work can bring into the organization. And I think that is something that will catch the eye of the recruiter. See, if you ask me today, people are looking for people who are really energetic, enthusiastic, they're fast to learn because we have to adapt to the technology that is coming up today, right? So if you are somebody who comes in also with a lot of years of experience but doesn't have knowledge of what the current trends are, then there is still a chance that you will be filtered out when you are interviewed, right? So I think that's what's one mindset change that I would want to bring in to people who say, right, I don't have a lot of experience. How do I apply? Or will I get an internship? Or will I get, a job? Yeah.
What are the in-demand skills over there now globally? Like, think about an Indian student who is going to Germany, for say. So, what are the domains they should focus, or the trending domains they should focus, where they can easily secure job?
So I think that's quite relevant right now with the shift that has been happening towards AI. So I think AI skills are the most in demand skills right now because it can be incorporated with almost every role that you're going to take on. So I think AI literacy is one thing that I would talk about. Data storytelling. So how you're using your data to showcase your inputs or tell a story about whatever you are doing. So I would say invest in learning skills like Python, Tableau, SQL, Power BI. That's something that also a lot of us will be seeing ads coming up about. So these are key skills or tools that I would want people to invest in. Another important thing is the way you communicate. You should have the ability to communicate and collaborate. So I think here, to bring in, I would say there are two types of skills ideally, Vishnu, that people should look at. All right. So one, I would say technically oriented skills. Okay. Do your research in terms of understanding what type of technical skills I would require to build, and simultaneously also invest in soft skills, because we know a lot of people who are highly technical skilled, but when it comes to communications, they start stuttering, stammering, they're not able to deliver properly. So I think it's very important you invest in that. And I think critical thinking in today's era, very, very important. So it's not just about, the courses that you do. I think it more aligns with the skills that you're trying to build in so that you're able to this thing. Because again, like I said, we are moving into a very fast paced advanced system where AI is everything. So I think focus more on that. And even if you're not very tech savvy, I think you can still go ahead and learn very basic tools like ChatGPT, which gives you so much of information in terms of how you can advance, right? So I think that is one thing. And also the mindset, again, you have to have that mindset of constantly updating yourself and staying in trend with what is currently happening right now. Yeah.
Now let's take the scenario of an international student, an Indian student who is abroad studying, say in any country. They are obviously going to these countries for staying over there. So how long they should prepare while they are studying to secure job right after the study so that they get placed and they can settle over there?
I think that's a very, very good question, Vishnu. I would say a lot of people, think about it in different formats, but I would say if you've not started, you're already late, right? So I think the time is right now. I mean, the time you decide that you want to, build a career, that's what you are studying for, obviously, right? Then you start right away. You start creating a roadmap right away. Now, in terms of Indian students, of course, they have the option of taking up, internships, or you have campus recruitments where, the recruiters come in and help you with job placements. When you talk about study abroad programs, I think the pool is even more larger. So you need to know and plan how you can tap into it. All right. So I would say, 6 months is something that you should look at. Exploring a roadmap would be one. In the first and second month, do your exploring. Okay. Try to understand what is it that I want to achieve as a short-term goal? What is it that I want to achieve as a long-term goal? Right. So have something that you are targeting in the 0 to 1 year bucket. And then you're also targeting something which is beyond that. So I think that covers your short-term and long-term. Do thorough research about the country that you're applying for, because that is also very, very important. What is the norms? What's the culture like? Do you have to incorporate and learn a new language if you have to survive over there and things like that? Right. And then start putting in a little bit of effort to start building skill sets that you feel will be important while you are, moving. I think in this, from the third to the fourth month, I think it's time now to start building your profile, preparing yourself a little more. Look at LinkedIn. I think it's very, very important, to start optimizing your LinkedIn profile to showcase, what are your aspirations? What are you looking to get into? Another important thing is start, certifying yourself. Now, your degree or your MBA will not give you all the requisite skill sets, particularly. So invest in certain certifications that will currently strengthen your profile. And I think by the time you reach your fourth to sixth month, it's time for you to start launching yourself. So that's when, go ahead, cater to a strong CV, also build your statement of purpose, because you're going to be applying for universities by that time. And then you start, slowly putting pieces together. And I think that is how, you will evolve eventually. And I think that is where I feel Upgrad does great, because we offer hybrid programs to learners, right? So they come in within the 6-month journey. They are in India. They've already started their learn journey. And then this gives them sufficient time to start preparing. And I think that's how we as career coaches also encourage them to start preparing themselves, because once they move abroad, if they know specific skills or they are able to showcase certain projects, it's easier for them to get part-time jobs that are relevant to their future rather than doing odd jobs, right? Because a lot of times we see people go abroad and they end up doing an odd job, and then they're not really able to showcase that as experience when they're applying for a full-time job, right? So I think somewhere down the line, I tell learners it's okay if you even take up an odd job for 3 months or so, like especially if you're going to Germany, because that will probably give you that edge to learn the language, because you will be interacting with a lot of people. But beyond that, look at getting a job that is at least somewhere down the line relevant to the role that you're targeting to get into.
You told about LinkedIn. So is LinkedIn the right platform, or is LinkedIn still helpful? Because we see a lot of people in LinkedIn like putting irrelevant posts also. So is LinkedIn still a trending platform for getting job, or are there similar platforms that students can show their presence and get good jobs?
So I think LinkedIn always is a very, very important platform. I think it's a universal platform, I would say. And I would say, don't look at LinkedIn as just a job applicant platform, right? Where you look at the LinkedIn jobs per se. Look at LinkedIn as your personal branding page, right? That brands you, that promotes you, that understands you end to end. What are your aspirations? What are your goals? You can showcase your certifications, your knowledge and expertise, right? So LinkedIn is like, I would say, if you're looking at your CV as a suit that you're wearing to impress, I think LinkedIn is like a big billboard over there, right? It's like a big advertisement over there of who, Cecilia is, or who Vishnu is, and what Vishnu does. And if you look at today's era, I think if you do a little bit of market research, and you would have probably come across this, they say 80% of the jobs are in a hidden job market. So all these job portals that you're applying for is basically just the 20 to 25% of the jobs that are actually out there, right? So I'm not saying don't apply for jobs on online platforms. What I'm also saying is people are actually searching for talent. You have recruiters who go on LinkedIn, secretly come visit your profile. You also, when you are putting in your CV, I always advise, please have an updated LinkedIn link that you can put into your CV, because recruiters are secretly checking you. Around 80 to 85% of the recruiters do check your LinkedIn profile, because they want to know what more. Like I said, if your resume is going through an ATS system, you're not able to put everything about yourself there, right? So the recruiter is going to be curious to see, okay, is this aligning to this person? So they are going to click your LinkedIn link. So I think LinkedIn is everything. You should always keep that as a platform, not only to apply for jobs, but showcase yourself in terms of your whole holistic picture. And I think the other important thing is, when you're applying for jobs in certain regions, look at the job portals that are there for that specific region, right? So a little bit of research over there will help you understand what are the job portals that are most trending in that particular region. Like, for example, if you look at Germany, you have Stepstone, you have Zing, you have so many other job portals. So keep all of that. I mean, do your research, keep all of that, but your LinkedIn has to be something that, you work on, I would say, every single week, right? Keep updating, because it will create visibility. I think a lot of times what happens is, people have a very bland LinkedIn profile, or they're just putting out, I've been promoted, or, this is what, I've joined this university. I mean, that doesn't tell anything about you. It's like you're gone into a party, but you're wearing a mask, right? So nobody knows who you are at that particular function. So why have a mask when you have a lot of potential that you can actually showcase? So I would say yes, LinkedIn is very, very important.
Now, imagine a student. They are like he or she is attending a lot of interviews back to back, and for unknown reasons, not getting selected. So, what is that one tip you can give to them? A mind like that changes their whole perspective and can secure job. One perspective
I
shift
think
advice that you can give.
I think Vishnu, here's where coaching plays a very, very important role. All right. So I would say, focus on in terms of looking at the mindset change that you can have over here, right? For me, I would say rejection is redirection. Okay. If something is not working out, means that something has to change and you have to make that redirection, right? So, for example, if I've, attended an interview and I've got rejected, all right, I need to make a little bit of effort to try and understand what did not work well in that interview for me, right? So, follow up on that, understand from the recruiter that I know that my profile has been rejected, but is there any inputs that I can get from you in terms of how I can, better my profile? Or is there anything specific that you found that does not match in my profile that aligns with something that you're looking for? I think feedback is the essence over here. And I think, you also like there are certain scenarios where people tell me, Cecilia, not everybody gives us feedback. I think it's an approach that I always tell people, if you do an interview and possible, do share feedback, because I personally do that at the end of an interview. But in case you're not able to get feedback, I think you should be able to be in a position where you're able to self-analyze yourself, right? I went through this interview today. What did I do differently in this interview from the previous one that I've been rejected on? Okay, so sometimes, you have to knock on many doors to convert that no into a yes. And imagine when you do that, you yourself will be feeling so proud of yourself that you've evolved from that stage of, no, no, no to a yes stage. So I think it's all about your mindset at the end of the day, Vishnu, in terms of how you take feedback from people. And I think for me personally, I think I've gone through rejections as well. And I think every no teaches me how I should build myself a little better. I think it's always been pushing me, and I've always been curious, why no? What is that no? And I push people a little also. So I think people should, get to that stage of understanding how they can improve. And instead of saying, am I good enough? What can I do to become better? I think that, kind of a mindset will help you evolve eventually. Yeah.
You shared a lot of insights, like highly inspiring and to the point insights. So the audience who are watching this video would love to know about you. So can you tell about yourself for the audience?
All right, sure. So Vishnu, thank you so much. I'm, very happy to be here. I've always had this, vision where I could help people. So let's talk a little bit about my profile. I come with overall like around 15 years of experience right now. And I think I've evolved over a period of, like I said, I also was in a stage where eventually I did not identify what my core strengths were. I just went blindly, looked for jobs that would probably pay me, but eventually, I think with certain skill sets like communication, it even helped me in industries that I was not really well versed with. So I think the initial stage of my career has been in finance and banking. So I've worked with quite a few big organizations. And then post that, I did my transition to get into something that I'm more aligned to, because I did do a self, reflection to try and understand, Cecilia, what are your current strengths? I also kind of took feedback from a lot of people to understand, what kind of an industry do you think I will thrive in? I think this is very, very important. And I think that's how I realigned into communications. And then when I, went in a little deeper, I wanted to help people with that vision. I got into coaching, and then slowly, eventually understanding where I was as a student, nobody to guide me. I think that's how eventually when I got an opportunity with Upgrad, to get into career coaching, I felt like, something is completing the entire circle right now of what I've went through. So I think that's how I've evolved into, career coaching. And right now I'm like in a space where I'm living my dream of helping, all of the study abroad aspirants. I also help people understand, how they can bring out the best in them. So that's something that I also do. And of course, you can, go through my LinkedIn profile and you'll get to know way more about me and, how I've been inspiring people and touching lives.
Thanks a lot. I am pretty sure that students are going to benefit from this session. Once again, thanks a lot for joining us today.
You're welcome, Vishnu. It was a pleasure.